Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA wrestling. We have a show to talk about tonight, but I'll be honest, the news that is surrounding TNA and surrounding the wrestling world and everything that's been going on is far more interesting than what we saw tonight. Not that it was a not that it was a bad show, but I just like nothing happened on the show tonight. It was like uh it was a 2 hour like I had the Dodger Philly game on mute and I was watching on the iPad and I was kind of keeping up with it. They went 11 innings tonight. Dodgers won, by the way. Sorry, Billy from Philly. I know you were watching intently. I'm sure you're probably watching the Giants and the Eagles right now. So is Dobby the Brain Heenan and Godilla, but and Pat, all my homies from Philadelphia tonight. Not doing so hot, I would say, but we are here. We are live. A quick programming note. For years I would go live immediately after a pay per view, but now that I'm on the East Coast, that is not happening. Not unless I got the day off the next day, which I don't have. So I get up at like 5 in the morning, sometimes earlier. I am not getting up. I am not staying up till like after midnight to do this podcast. I love you guys. I can't do it. So I checked with JD, and we're gonna do the Bound for Glory post show. We're gonna do that on Monday, very likely during the day. If we can't do it during the day, then we'll do it like a 10 p.m. show. But we'd be going up against Raw. I didn't want to do that because that's just gonna be on the YouTube. It's not gonna be a Patreon deal. And so we might just go live during the day. I'll be working remotely. I'll be working from home, but I still get up like super early. So, but since I'm going to be home and I'm going to be in my office, I'll be able to go live. And he said that he has a flexible schedule at work on Monday too, so he might be able to go live as well. So we're gonna check that. We're gonna check that out. We're gonna try it. So let me get to the chat. Chat is lively for a Patreon show. Alter the Squirrel in the house. What's up, my brother? Lucky Charm said episode was dog shit. I don't want to call it dog shit, but I don't think it was like good. I just feel like nothing happened on the show. Like there was some good stuff though. Like I thought and we'll get to it. Like I'm not spending a lot of time recapping the show tonight because there really wasn't much to recap, honestly. So, but I'll get to it, but I'm not going to recap long video promos, which I thought actually were pretty good. I thought the video promos tonight were good, especially the Mike Santana one at the end. We got two Mike Santana promos. One was the video promo at the end with Conan, which I thought was fantastic. So I will get to it, but you're probably not getting a lot of time on the episode of Impact because they didn't really give me a lot to talk about. So thankfully there's some news surrounding the company that I'll be able to get to. Io in the house. What's up, Io? How are you? Alter says it was definitely a show. Lucky Charm said, I just watched the Bruins win in overtime 1,000 times better than Impact. I watched the Dodgers win, Dodger Stadium, half empty stadium because they went to the 11th inning and bases were loaded. And I think it was Andy Pages. Andy Pages hits a little dribbler to the pitcher who fumbles it, picks it up, and instead of throwing to first base, he had plenty of time to throw to first base. He threw it at home, and it was off the plate, so the catcher couldn't. He threw a wild pitch to home to try to tag the runner out at home, and completely blew the spot. And the Dodgers. That's how the Dodgers are heading to the NLCS. As usual, I'm not very confident in the Dodgers' chances in the NLCS, depending on who they play. But they keep figuring out how to pull wins right out of their asses. So kind of an interesting season. They've been hurt all year, and I didn't get to watch a lot of Dodger baseball this year because I was traveling a lot, going through the country, and then now I'm on the East Coast. And the Dodger games, when they're at Dodger Stadium in prime time, they're typically at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's like I'm already in bed at that time. So it's been tough. But since the playoffs have been on, I've watched. I didn't watch last night's game, but I did get up early this morning, and I watch the condensed version online. So I'm all in on the Dodgers. All right. Also, no mask versus hair match. I'm disappointed. Yeah, you would have gotten some heat. I would have called your ass out for that if that actually happened. It was a go home show tonight. Yeah, for sure. TNA has to do better with their go home shows. Hopefully, going live next year, they can step it up. I don't have any faith that they will step it up once they go live. If they end up going live, I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna start the show off. I'm just gonna share this tweet. This past Tuesday, they were going head to head. It was NXT versus TNA Showdown. Went head to head with AEW Dynamite's title Tuesday. I didn't think that AEW did a very good job of promoting their show. I don't think they put anything big on that show. I feel like they phoned it in. The wrestlers on the show did not phone it in. They absolutely did not. I went back and was able to watch a lot of that show, and I thought the in-ring action, which is what you typically get with AEW, the in-ring action was always really good. And I thought the matches were very good, specifically Mox versus Ishii. I talked about it yesterday. I did a full NXT Showdown review yesterday. It's on the Patreon. It's only for Patreon subscribers. I can't even extract the file to make it into a YouTube video, so it only will live on Patreon. So if you haven't had a chance, I don't want to go back and do a full recap, but I'm making a point. I didn't think AEW did a very good job of promoting the show, and I thought NXT did an excellent job of promoting that show. Now, while NXT didn't have like the out of this world matches, with the exception of Mustafa Ali and Ethan Page, which I thought was really good, they made their show interesting. They had a hot storyline going into it, and people can say what they want. Specifically AEW fans. I know you don't like the storyline, but TNA fans and NXT fans are really into the storyline, and it's got more goddamn plot holes than any other storyline I've ever followed in pro wrestling. But for whatever reason, people are into it, and the NXT crowd was hot the whole night. It just seemed like that's where the energy was in NXT, was in the Performance Center in front of a couple hundred people. AEW had 2,000 people that just seemed exhausted in Jacksonville. I don't know if it was like super humid. I don't know what was going on there. But it didn't seem like the people in Jacksonville cared all that much about what was going on outside of the Mox versus Ishii match, which I think it took them a while to get into. I say all that to say that knowing all that, you had to know that it was going to be a bloodbath when we're talking about the head-to-head ratings battle between the two companies. And I told you guys last week exactly what I was going to do. And I am a man of my word. I told you guys I was going to make a tweet and I was going to give complete credit to TNA. And I did not disappoint. Although I am disappointed that I didn't get enough hate on this tweet. Unfortunately, I think people are hip to my games and they know that I'm fucking with them. So I was hoping for some like real legitimate hate, and I just didn't get. I wanted like tears, like I wanted misspelled like hate tweets at me, but I didn't get that. So that's a little bit disappointing. But here it is, my infamous tweet: TNA with NXT in parentheses beat AEW Dynamite head to head in the ratings, 625,000 and a 0.12 rating. I had the word and. I don't know why I put and. 321,000 and a 0.07 rating. This number right here, this 321,000, might be the lowest all time. Or it's like right. If it's not the lowest all time, it's like right up there. And that 321 is not good. 625 isn't great either, but going up against baseball playoffs like they were, and going up against Dynamite, I would say NXT is probably pretty happy with it, and CW is pretty happy. Now, one thing we got to remember is that this is counting with the new rating system, so this is probably a lot more accurate than what you were getting in years past, because as we brought up on Sunday night, the previous methodology that they were using is they were only sampling like 40,000 Nielsen boxes. So they're sampling 40,000 households, and that was supposed to be representative of 300 million people. When now they're doing all these different devices, streaming devices like iPads, phones, streaming apps, Nielsen boxes, and they're combining all of them. And now you got like 75 million or so methods to use, and which would be a far more accurate representative sample. You got to think about when they do political polling to get a representative sample of 300 million people. A lot of times they make like 10,000 phone calls, right? So not very good, which is why there's such a disparity in the polls a lot of times. Similar with Nielsen, and we talked about it for years on Brace for Impact. Impact would average anywhere from like 70,000 to 130,000 for years. And the reason why it was big swings is because like 3 people wouldn't watch one week, and all of a sudden it's fucking down to 70,000. Oh, I don't know why my phone decided to just play the show. So that was the tweet. Now let's go to some of the hate. Okay, so this guy Richie K. Okay, put AEW on free TV over the air, then brag about beating them. It's easy when you're on free over the air channel in 130 million homes versus one on cable and 56 million homes. You also have to pay for TBS. CW is free. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. You really educated me. I greatly appreciate it. So here's the thing. What he's saying is true, right? That is true. And of course, I'm an asshole, so I said hopefully AEW gets a better TV deal next time. AEW has the better TV deal, right? Because they're getting paid a lot more money. And that's really what it's all about. CW, yeah, it's in a lot more homes, but not a lot of people watch that channel based on like the homes that they're available in. It's, you got Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, and then like they're like number 5. And NXT actually puts them up like higher on Tuesday nights because of how well they're performing on that channel. They're doing a great job on that channel. But CW doesn't pay a lot of money for programming, so there is a difference. But yes, that is the advantage, and I was not going to bring up the advantage because it was irrelevant. I was shit posting, so there you go. Took the bait, yes. Also a squirrel took the bait for sure. So NXT Showdown, I would have to say, is a major success. I know last year during the head-to-head battle, NXT was like over 800,000, but that was using the old Nielsen ratings, right? So there's a big drop off, but the big drop off, I would get the feeling, is because of there's less people watching for sure. But it's a more significant drop off because of the way that the new ratings are measured, which I get the feeling are more accurate. Now we could 6 months from now learn even more and be like, okay, the ratings that we're using today are even archaic 6 months from now. I think this thing is going to continue to evolve. But I had a lot of fun at the expense of the AEW sickos. They're very sensitive about this rating stuff. Like if you actually are an AEW fan and it upsets you that more people watched NXT, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like there's so many more important things in life that like, it's not like it's not a football game, right? Like if NXT wins the head-to-head battle this week, guess what happens tomorrow? Not a goddamn thing. like literally nothing happens. So I wouldn't worry about this too much. And word on the street is that Max is going to start reporting numbers next year. And if they do, like that could be a big deal. And that would be very interesting to see what kind of numbers we get from that. I will be tracking that pretty closely if and when they do come out. So, all right. So that was the Showdown ratings. Showdown was a major success. Crushed AEW Dynamite. Crushed them bad. Next topic. All right. One more thing I wanted to share. I want to do a share screen here again. Let me close out of that one. All right, I want to do one more share screen here. So we've been tracking the saga of the TNA television deal. and we've been I feel like I've been talking about this goddamn television deal. Like, no, I've been talking about them getting a new TV deal since I've been in podcasting, since I came back to the podcasting world back in 2021. I don't know how many, like, I could go back to Fight Game Media and I could probably count out how many times this topic's come up. And then since we've been on Voices of Wrestling Network and we've had our own YouTube channel, I couldn't imagine how many times I've had to clip a TV deal discussion. It's been for like over 4 years since I've been talking about this, and it seems like we're getting closer and closer. But I'm just gonna play what Carlos Silva told Nick Nemeth, and he told Jonathan Coachman here. So here's Carlos Silva on the Coach and Nick Nemeth's radio show on the Busted Open Network.
So where are we at right now on a potential streaming deal or a potential television deal?
So, yeah, one and the same in today's world for sure. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's the same place we were last week. I sort of made some statements on a couple of, platforms that we are literally every single day. In fact, I had a call on Monday, and we're working with lawyers to get the deal together. So I feel good about it. It's moving forward. And we're gonna get a deal done, and we're gonna be on a new platform in 2026. And
hold on, let me play that part one more time.
Moving forward, and we're gonna get a deal done, and we're gonna be on a new platform in 2026. And it's like everything. Can't really talk about it yet till the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But I feel really good about it. I'm super excited about the partnership and where it's going to take TNA. So I would just say stay tuned. Give me a little bit of time. But, look, it's October 8th today, and 2026 isn't far off. So I think something's going to be in the books very soon.
All right. So I thought that was really important there, because he's always talked about it like he was pretty confident. But right there, and I played it twice, right there, he said that oh shit, I think Jackson Dart just went down. Jackson Dart is down, and Russell Wilson is throwing the ball. Oh God, that can't be good. I think if you're a Giants fan, you're probably pretty sick right now. But I made sure to play that twice because it was important. He said, we're going to get a deal done, and he said emphatically, we're going to be on a new platform in 2026. If this guy doesn't get this goddamn deal done, he's toast. Like, he's got to go. That's all there is to it. If for whatever reason this deal doesn't get done, I think not only do I think it's going to get done, I think it is done. But if it doesn't happen, you're gone, bro. Like, that's your whole job and your whole identity, like the whole mission statement since you've been in the company is to get this TV deal done. And if it doesn't get done, you got to go. That's all there is to it. They got to find someone else that knows this business, because he would have set his company up for failure by creating an expectation and being so public about it, and creating an expectation that you couldn't live up to. I don't think this guy is a dumb guy. I think that they're very confident that they've had this deal in the bag for a long time. And now it looks like the lawyers are talking over the papers and they're just finalizing it. I think that this deal is done, and I get the feeling that we're going to hear it on Bound for Glory. But because I keep saying that, chances are we're not going to hear about it on Bound for Glory. So, but it very, very much looks like it's going to be 2026. We'll get a new TV deal, and sooner rather than later, we'll hear that the deal is done. And Alter, I am with you. I freaking hope so. Yeah, because I'm really just sick of talking about this TV deal. I've been talking about it for 4 years, and look, it's going to be important. But if it's a lateral move, I think that's a disappointment. And what am I talking about? A lateral move? If they end up on Tubi, I would say that's a lateral move. Now, everybody in the world has Tubi, right? A lot of people have it on their TVs and they have it on their devices, and they don't even know it, because, like, I've never met a single goddamn person that regularly watches Tubi. I've had Tubi forever, and like occasionally I'll be looking for a movie, like a classic movie, and it'll be on Tubi, and I'll watch. And it's ad supported, but the ads, like sometimes it can be really bad. But I think the last year or so, it's gotten better. But if that's where it's at, I don't think that's like this huge television deal. I think it's got to be CW level or bust. And what do I mean by CW level? CW would obviously put them in the most amount of homes. Technically, Tubi could potentially put them in the most amount of homes, but WWE Evolves have been on Tubi, and literally nobody watches it, right? MLW was trying to get on Tubi years ago, and that whole deal fell through because WWE was on Fox, and they killed the deal. Like Stephanie McMahon went, and that's why MLW can now afford Killer Cross, can afford Shotzi Blackheart, and all these other talents are coming in. But if they would have ended up on there, that would not have been a big deal. And so I would say TNA ending up on Tubi would not be a big deal unless Fox goes all in, and promotes it on their main networks and things like that. Now, if it's like a Tubi deal with Fox One, where the pay-per-views go to Fox One and like their specials on Fox Net, like Fox Sports, I could be talked into that. Or if it's like a joint, like if it's on FS1 and Tubi, I could be talked into that. But if it's just on Tubi, that's not a big deal. And Tubi doesn't pay a lot for content. So, if it's that, that's not that big of a deal. But CW, I think that's a big deal. If you're on CW, I think you have the potential to be a big time TV show. I know that the money is not going to be like AEW level, but I do think that they could compete with and I said this last week, and some guy called me out on it. Odd Jobs on Voices of Wrestling. He's a very big AEW fan, doesn't like TNA, and he goes, when I was questioning whether or not in the Discord, I was questioning whether or not TNA would end up on CW and like the different possibilities. And in the beginning of that clip that I played with Carlos, he said that TV deals and streaming deals are one and the same. They're interchangeable. And it kind of made it seem like, and Aaron Quinn talked about it, it kind of made it seem like it was a streaming deal and not a TV deal. I just re-listened to it and it's like, okay, I could see that maybe. I think he's obfuscating a little bit. I think he's trying not to play his hand, despite the fact that he once told everybody exactly what the price is for the show. But I think it's a real possibility that it ends up just being on streaming. Now, Peacock, I would say Peacock would be a bigger deal than Tubi. More people watch Peacock because there's more premium programming on Peacock. I know Tubi is going to have an NFL game, but that's not going to be exclusive to Tubi. Peacock is going to have exclusive NFL games. They're going to have exclusive NBA games. They're still going to have Saturday night's main event. They're still going to have NXT. So there's a lot of programming that they would be able to, get the rub from. And then of course they got premium movies that come straight to Peacock. So I think if it's a Peacock and like TNA is just on Peacock, like the TV show every week, I think that's a big deal. And then if they can somehow get the pay-per-views and the monthly events, I think that's a big deal. And they could still keep their app internationally. Now Paramount, that would be Mike's personal choice, Paramount, because I'm not a subscriber to Peacock anymore. But my personal choice would be Paramount because my daughter won't let me cancel Paramount because she really likes Dora the Explorer and Paw Patrol. And then my son will probably start watching television here in like a year or so, and he will probably like those TV shows too. So my personal pick would be Paramount. I'm still leaning towards CW, but there's other possibilities out there. Okay. All right. TV deal talk out of the way. All right. Let's get to the Bound for Glory tickets. As of earlier today, I don't think WrestleTix put this out, but Dobby the Brain Heenan, the legend himself, Dobby the Brain Heenan, did the count. And he has got Bound for Glory sitting at 5,102 tickets sold, 361 tickets remaining out of 5,463. That was earlier today's count, but he has since said that they have opened up more sections. And I get the feeling by Sunday we're going to be over 6,000 for that show. Bell time inching closer to 7, and I think they will. If they get close to 7, they're going to announce that they broke the record again. I don't know if it'll actually be true, but I just know TNA and I know pro wrestling, and they're going to announce that they broke the record again. So like it could be true, it could be not true. I don't know, but right now, legitimately, there's 5,100 tickets out, and we're still 2 days away. If you remember, we're like 3 days away because it's Sunday. When we were 3 days out for Slammiversary, we were not at 5,100. It was still like in the 4s. And they went out there and hustled. They opened up more tickets. They just had a really good ground game, and they were able to get people into the building. And they had the big AJ Styles surprise. We don't have that surprise at this point. I would not expect any big surprises coming up. Could be wrong. They're moving tickets without a surprise. So I don't even know, like, unless it's AJ again, which I don't think would work as well the second time unless he was wrestling, which the card's full. So that's not going to happen. So I don't know any name out there that they could say is going to be showing up for a special appearance that would actually help move tickets. So I think the card is what the card is, and I think they're going to get over 6,000 with the card as is at this point. But obviously that could change. So, yep, 5,100 tickets sold. Let's see. Squirrel says if TNA drops on CW, the sickos are going to have a fit. So no matter what TNA does, people are just going to give WWE credit. Like, that's the cope, right? It's like, it's not TNA, it's WWE. And there's some truth to that. They are utilizing their partnership to their benefit, and they might be utilizing it so well that they could talk themselves into a television deal, which that's just good business. That's a good partnership. And the partnership is working great. Like Showdown is indicative of that. They did a good rating, and TNA and NXT went 2-2. It essentially served, like, Showdown was a much better go-home show than Impact tonight. And I don't even think it was close. I think Showdown did a lot better job of selling Bound for Glory than Impact did tonight, just by virtue of the show that they had, and it was in front of so many people, and it was like exciting, a lot of energy, which I didn't think that this show had a ton of energy. So, and they made Santana look strong in the end, and Impact did that tonight too with that go home promo that they had. So, we'll see. All right. Io says it's coming, guys. Silva said patience. Yeah. Lord Silva. Lowell, Boston, Massachusetts, doing a good job. And then Alter the Squirrel. So speaking of BFG tickets, I saw an article that says BFG has a special stage set up in hopes of breaking their attendance record. Surprised there haven't been rumors of the 6-sided ring. Yeah, I don't think that's coming back. The special stage setup means that they're going to use their normal small stage. So I don't think that that's anything in particular. Let's get to some other news. Iconics and Cedric Alexander, their deals are up right after Bound for Glory. Cedric Alexander, I just feel like his deal was announced a couple months ago. Fightful Select reporting both of these deals are up, coming up here at the end of Bound for Glory. It's smart on their part. I don't know who their agents are, but it is smart for them to sign essentially 90-day deal, knowing that there is a TV deal looming for TNA. If TNA inks that TV deal in and around Bound for Glory, which could possibly be, then you would expect that their talent and production budget would go up significantly from what it is right now, which means you could probably squeeze more money out of TNA. That's good business by the wrestlers. That's smart. I could see Cedric ended up in TNA. I don't think TNA has any worries about Iconics going anywhere. And in fact, it seemed Sean Ross Sapp in his writing made it seem like he was pretty confident that they were staying. He didn't say those words, but that's the way that I read it. Like, TNA was confident that they can get a deal done. I know they probably want to keep Cedric Alexander. He might be more trouble to keep because I think Tony Khan just likes having guys on his roster. Like, he can't get enough of good wrestlers on his roster. The guy, Jackson Dart's back in. Okay. Giants are good. He just can't get enough of good wrestlers on his roster, which I get, but at a certain point, like you got too many people. So, and then I thought this was interesting. Zeta Steel, who was a WWE ID prospect, was one of the more more sought after prospects out there. She's only like 21 years old. You know, she kind of like resembles Toni Storm a little bit in her look. And people think highly of her. And WWE thought highly of her enough to where they signed her to a WWE ID deal. And it's expiring. And she said she chose not to renew. At the same time, WWE chose not to renew Kylie Ray, who is actively pregnant, which that's fucking disgusting that they did that. They should have just kept her contract alive and paid her throughout the duration of her pregnancy and into her maternity leave. But that's another story. But Zeta is kind of a hot name on the indie scene. And TNA should really be early on people like that as opposed to being late. Like if they can get them in for a decent price and they're early on one of those talents, then maybe they can develop them and keep them around for a little bit. But as Carlos Silva said in that same interview with Jonathan Coachman, he said that if a young talent wanted to go to WWE, he'll help them get there. TNA is an interesting platform because we can bring and provide a new platform for legends that have already been in the game for 10 to 15 years plus. But then we can also help bring the young talent. Look, is that talent at times going to leave? Is that talent going to want to go to WWE if they're younger talent? They are, and I've said it, and Nick knows this, that he'll help them get to WWE. People have took that, calling him all kinds of names, calling him a cuck, and I think that it's just TNA being self-aware of where they stand in the marketplace. When they never really had an official relationship with AEW, but whenever they were more friendly with AEW, Scott D'Amore essentially was saying some of the same things. And in fact, if you look at their roster afterwards, how many talent went to AEW, TNA was not standing in those people's way of going there, and in fact, probably helped broker the deal. Right, because they know that they don't have the resources to be able to pay them what an AEW could pay them. They don't have the resources to pay them what a WWE could pay them. They can't give them the same level of exposure. You're not going to work in front of the same crowds. It is just different. So him saying that is not a bad thing. I think he's just aware of where they stand in the marketplace. He worked in MMA and he was with PFL, and when he was there, I think PFL understood where they stood in the marketplace and they were doing fine. He left and Don Davis has taken over. And I think Don Davis actually wanted to compete with UFC, and they can't get 60,000 people to watch their show on ESPN. It's just weird. But there's another company out there called LFA, the Legacy Fighting Alliance, and they'll sign you, and they actively tell people, like, we will help you get into the UFC. You sign us for X amount of dates, but if UFC comes calling, we'll just let you out of your deal and you can go to UFC. And then what they do is that's part of their plea to get talent to come over there, is like, we can help you get to the big leagues, right? TNA, a little bit different. Like, you're going to work out your contract with TNA. But if you're a young talent, your contract's expiring, they're going to help feed you to the partners versus you go somewhere else, right? And so what he's doing, and I think it's smart, he's putting that out there so that way he can attract young prospects to come to TNA, and they could see TNA as a vehicle to get themselves into WWE. I think that sucks, if you're a TNA fan and you see TNA as being like this destination company. Maybe like you want wrestlers to have dreamed of working for TNA. But that is not reality. That just doesn't exist, right? There's two big dogs in the United States. It's WWE and AEW, and everybody on the TNA roster, with some exceptions to some of the older folks, will want to go to one of those big dogs once their contracts expires. So they know that, right? And so instead of fighting against it, they're just like, yeah, come here. We'll help you get to that point if that's what you want. Or you could be like Eddie Edwards and just stay forever. Or you could go and then come back, which happens a lot, right? I get the feelings at some point, a lot of the TNA talents, Deonna Purrazzo and W. Morrissey, and a lot of like once their deals are done with AEW, or like some of the other folks, once their deals are done with TNA, I think they could be welcomed back into the fold, and that'd be pretty easy. Like, I think Josh Alexander is going to be back in TNA one day. I fully believe that. 100%. You don't think Scott D'Amore brokered that deal? Of course he did, right? He had the relationships there. Like, that's his guy. So it just is what it is. I don't think that is a bad thing. I think that is a guy being self-aware and knowing where his company stands in the marketplace. So I think it was, and here's my read on Carlos is he is super honest and probably a little bit too honest. And I think a lot of wrestling fans are used to these people being carny, lying pieces of shit. And he just doesn't appear to be that, but, is what it is. Like, that stuff doesn't bother me. In fact, I kind of find it to be a little bit refreshing that he's just like, he says the quiet part out loud. Like, he understands what he is. He understands what TNA is. And for the longest time, a lot of people didn't really understand what TNA was. Alto the Squirrel says TNA is a good place for young people coming up and older people coming down, pretty much how it's always been. Yes, it is Memphis wrestling. It is a territory, essentially a territory. But I think here pretty soon they're going to be a pretty damn successful television show. Will Ty or Madison ever come back to TNA? I think Deonna and Josh definitely will. I could see them coming back. I 100% could see them coming back. Like, Madison's been in and out like 3 or 4 times. Ty has been in and out a couple of times, right? I think they will. Everybody at some point eventually is going to just show back up on TNA's doorstep. Like, the door is always open, especially when you're an alumni. Carlos is very transparent, and he's the opposite of Court Bauer, in other words. Yeah, well, I mean, look, Court didn't want WWE and AEW taking his talent and actively fought against them. But even then, like, he gave up Brian Pillman Jr. and he gave up MJF and Joey Janela and just essentially allowed them to walk in the front door of AEW. He had, they worked both places for a little bit, but he didn't step in the way. He did step in the way of people going to WWE for a little bit. And I think he would still continue to do that because of the nasty relationship that they have, with WWE essentially sabotaging their Tubi deal. So that is understandable, but he's always welcomed people back, right? Like, Low Key came back. Who else? I don't think Joey Janela is ever going back. I think that there's too much. Oh shit! Giants just intercepted Jalen Hurts, and he's going down. This might be a tutty. Hold on. They got him out. Jesus, that was sick. Sorry guys. I got the game up on silent up on the television. But Killer Cross is back now. He's been in and out of AEW a few times, and Matt Riddle's back. Like, he's been in and out of MLW a couple of times. So yeah, like, Hammerstone's back now, right? Like, a lot of the people that were there in the early days of MLW, he's always going to welcome back. And hell, MJF has been on the show a few times recently because he's doing his feud with Mystico. So everybody is welcome back. Everybody can go back home. The prodigal sons have returned. All right, let's get into a very brief Impact review, and then I need to get to the Bound for Glory preview. The show tonight was very, I would say, promo heavy, not a ton of action for a TV show that prides itself on being total nonstop action. Excuse me while I try to pull up the notes. So when I tried to pull up the notes earlier when I had that song going, it wasn't up yet, but I'm hoping that it's up now. So we shall see. I certainly do hope so. Talk amongst yourself, folks. Yeah, it's still not up on prowrestling.net. So I might have to go off of memory here, which you guys know my memory. Not very good. Not very good at all. Yeah, so the results have not been posted at prowrestling.net. So I might have to find an alternative solution. All right. So the show opens up essentially with a big, like, slow motion drawn out recap Um, they went over Showdown, of course, and they went over last week's episode, and they're talking about Bound for Glory. And then, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the first match of the night was JDC versus Mustafa Ali. I get the feeling it was JDC versus Mustafa Ali. All right, this is not going to work. I need to get I need to get the results. Hold on, let me see. TNA results. I can't believe it wasn't up. TNA results tonight. Okay. Oh my God, AI doesn't even have it. Hold on. That's so funny. This is bad radio, guys. I apologize. This is not good. The TNA website doesn't even have the results up yet. That is so funny. Okay, F4W Online has it. So I'm just going to read this from my phone, so I apologize. If I pull this up on the computer, it's going to have nothing but fucking pop-up ads, and then it's going to drag the memory from the computer, and I won't be able to use it. So, all right. So I pulled up the results. So Trick Williams opens up the show, and he talks about how he's essentially going to kick Mike Santana's ass, and said that this place will be forever called Trick NA. Mike Santana, of course, came to the crowd with a really good promo. I thought he says he's not had to survive the physical and mental battles that Santana has. Santana talked about identifying his father's body in the morgue and having to tell his daughter that he was an addict. Powerful stuff. And failure was not an option for him and Bound for Glory. Williams told Santana that he'd be back in rehab after he lost on Sunday to face the truth, and that he was not better than Williams. Santana called Williams a pretender with fear in his eyes, and that he was a one-trick pony. And then said he would kick him back basically to developmental. So I thought that was a really good promo. To another promo, we got Tessa Blanchard told the same story about Jim Miller couldn't cut it at George South School. Called her the J slur again. This is an outrage. I got in so much trouble for using the J slur, and sure enough, Tessa's on here saying like they just reshowed the video from last week, but and then they had a close up on Jim Miller's face, and she was like crying. It was the whole thing. But Miller promised karma at Bound for Glory, and so we'll see who wins that one. But that was a promo there. Matt Cardona defeated Ryan Emma, so that was the first match. I did not remember much about this match. It reminded me of a WWF Superstars enhancement match from like 1993. It was not a good match. It was comedy spots. It was interferences. It was pandering to the crowd. I don't think either guy really took a bump. It was very much like, something you would see on WWF Superstars in 1993. Matt Cardona got the victory there, though. With the radio silence. Rascals did there's that 70s show gimmick, and they said they need a match for Bound for Glory, so they're going to talk to Santino. I'm surprised they're not just in the Collar Shot Gauntlet, so they'll probably be on the pre-show. I did not think that this one was very good. So I think these are usually pretty funny, but I just didn't think this one was any good at all. And but essentially the gist of it was Zach Wentz was upset that he got super kicked by Trey Miguel. And Trey Miguel talked him into smoking weed, and that made everything okay. So they'll probably have a trios match. They'll probably have a trios match with somebody. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Where did I go? Okay, hold on. For some reason, I got lost my spot. Okay, hold on. Getting back. All right. Marsha Day cut a promo about how Jazz and Jackie were her inspirations and how cool wrestling with the Hardys was, and she wants to be an inspiration and motivations to little girls. Another really effective promo. They got into Marsha Day's backstory. They're doing a good job of telling her story, which admittedly I don't watch NXT, so I feel like I'm learning who this person is in real time, and I think that's cool. They're doing a good job of introducing this character to the TV show. They might have something with her, although on Tuesday, completely whiffed her goddamn moonsault. It was not good. All right, Mustafa Ali with Order 4 defeated JDC. Not much to the match. Interferences, distractions, all the horseshit. They did have a big dive to the outside where they knocked everybody down. JDC delivered a massive superplex and both men were down for a bit. JDC went for Falcon Arrow, but Ali countered with and hit a suplex of his own for a near fall. Ali hit a rolling net breaker and taunted the other members of the system. JDC dodged a 450 and sent him headfirst in the middle turnbuckle. That was pretty sick, actually. And JDC followed up with a series of uppercuts, a Russian leg sweep. Ali went for a tornado DDT, but JDC countered with a Falcon Arrow. JDC went to the top, but Ali dropped to the floor, hit a Secret Service, and his Secret Service tended to him. JDC dove onto the pile. Ali and JDC out. Tasha Steeles and Alicia Edwards led their sides into battle on the floor. That created a big distraction, and JDC zero toss JDC in the ring, and Ali hit the 450 to get the pinfall. So the referee was not very good in this match. TNA injury report. I thought this was pretty interesting. Team 3D been cleared. Okay. Marsha Day also cleared. Didn't know she was hurt. Inspiration cleared, but Elijah is still out. This is the first time they brought up Elijah in a while. Now at Victory Road, somebody attacked Joe Hendry in the back, right in like the parking lot or something like that, and then he came out and he ended up still beating Eric Young. I assumed that was Eric Young's new faction, which I don't think is ever coming. I think I might have just I was trying to manifest sanity or manifest, the righteous coming in and being with Eric Young. It's very possible that it was just Elijah taking out Joe Hendry, because I felt like once they brought him in and they paired him with Joe Hendry, like if he was always going to turn on Hendry and they were going to have the two singing wrestlers fight. So they might be getting to that, and eventually, and then Joe Hendry can just get packing. He can be done with the show. All right. So they did a contract signing. I'll be honest, guys, I was behind in the show. I started it late. I fast forwarded through the contract signing. But from what I heard, it was very bad. It was like two wholly uninteresting people doing a promo in an uninteresting fashion. And Santino very likely tried to tell jokes. Okay. But they're gonna wrestle. So there you go. Road to Glory, a documentary, The Final Table. I thought it was pretty good. I think if you're a fan of these two tag teams, if you grew up with these guys, you probably really like this. And I grew up with these guys, so naturally I enjoyed it. And now I don't think that the match is going to be like this crazy good match or anything, but it's two of the more famous tag teams of all time, especially like in the last 25 years for sure, going at, or in the last 30 years. Yeah, these guys have been around for a long time, and they're calling it One Final Table, which I don't think this is going to be the last one. But hopefully it's the last match, because I'm pretty sure they've done this gimmick before where they were supposed to have one last match in TNA, actually. But Jeff Hardy's daughters was in it, and they got Bully or Brother Devon's kids. They kept calling themselves the Dudley Boys, but they're going by Team 3D. That became an issue on Twitter earlier this week. Like, people were openly questioning why they would go by Team 3D and not the Dudley Boys, considering the partnership. Here's the thing. It's TNA. They were Team 3D for like 10 years. I don't think it matters, and I don't think anybody actually cares. So that's Mike's stance on it. And then we get another promo. It's Leon Slater. He's out for Bound for Glory. I thought this was a damn good promo. Like, I thought it was a fantastic promo. Leon Slater's got something, like more than just in the ring. Like, we all knew he was good in the ring, but I think this was like the first time where I was pretty impressed by a promo of his. He had some fire. He talked about some personal issues about his dad walking out on him. He had the belt wrapped around his neck. Unfortunately, I think the motherfucker's going to lose, but I thought this was a damn good promo. He did a really good job. Final card for Bound for Glory. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Eric Young defeated Joe Hendry in a no disqualification match. A lot of walking and brawling and garbage cans and chairs and all the horse shit. Match was fine. I didn't really think it was like the greatest. The crowd was into Joe Hendry, of course. Back in the ring, Young set up a chair in the corner, but of course Hendry was able to reverse Young's move and use his own chair against him. Hendry beat Young about the head and shoulders with some cookie sheets. Hendry dumped Young with a fallaway slam. Hendry went for a standing ovation, but Young raked his eyes. to block the move. Young took a wild swing with a cookie sheet and missed. Hendry caught Young with an Olympic slam onto a chair for a near fall. Hendry set up a chair. Give the standing ovation, but Hendry jawed too much about the no DQ stip, and Young caught him with a low blow and then finished Hendry off with a pile driver and beat Hendry clean. So I don't know that was Hendry's last match, but he's putting everybody over on the way out. And then we got a really excellent Mike Santana hype video. One last hype video for Mike Santana. He was in the old LAX like set that they used to have. And he was reading a letter written to him by Conan, and Conan narrated the letter. And then they played a bunch of videos and stuff like that and some overlays. And I thought it was really well done. Probably the best thing on the show tonight. Eagles just fumbled again. These guys are done. Eagles are dead, by the way. I thought it was by far the best thing on the show. And they announced that Mike Santana versus Trick Williams is the main event. They closed the show with this promo. They closed NXT with Mike Santana on top. If Mike Santana doesn't win this fucking match, I think that they got to go out of business. I think it's over. It's like they gotta just stop being in the professional wrestling business. I think they're cooked. I get the feeling Santana's winning though. Hopefully clean, but I get the feeling he's winning. But, I thought it was an effective way to close the show. All right, let's see. Devon said it's his last match. Well, yeah, I mean, the guy had a stroke. I'm surprised he's even in this match. And then the Conan speech was heartwarming. Yeah, I thought they did a great job with that. Good stuff. All right, now let's get to the Bound for Glory preview, where I inaccurately predict every single match. I am the fucking worst at this. I don't know why I still do them, but I never get any of these right. I'll be lucky if I get 3 matches right, but I'm still going to do it. Okay. Final card for Bound for Glory as of right now, as of Thursday at 10:59 p.m. Pre-show match, we got TNA Knockouts Tag Team titles, the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration. This is interesting because the Inspiration, their contracts are due. I get the feeling they're re-signing, but I would be completely fine with the belts going right back to Elegance brand. I like that act. I don't think the Iconics or the Inspiration need the titles. I think they wanted them to have those titles on NXT. But I would be totally fine with them going back to Elegance brand. That being said, I think Inspiration keep it because I do think they're re-signing. Could be wrong, but that is my read. That's the only match announced for the pre-show. I do think that the Rascals will be on the pre-show too. Gia Miller versus Tessa Blanchard. I don't know that Tessa's long for this company, but who are they building? If Gia Miller wins, like, what's the fucking point? Like, is she going to wrestle from now on? I don't know. So I'm going to go with Tessa here, even though I don't think Tessa's sticking around past like November, December timeframe. I could be wrong, but there would be no point in Tessa losing to Gia Miller because Gia Miller's not going to be an active wrestler. Unless that is the plan going forward, unless she's going to give up the microphone. And then we'll see, like, is Gia any good? I've never seen her wrestle. So the Hardcore Boar, Order 4 versus the System. Typically, I would pick the Order 4 here because the System never wins anything. But I'm going to go with the System here only because I'm pretty sure that Mustafa Ali is going to go for the title. Now, you're saying that, Mike? Why would you pick Ali to lose knowing damn well he's probably going to go for the title? It's because I know TNA. And they will beat somebody before they go for a title because then people will just forget the fact that they just lost. It's like that is how they do it. They've been doing it for years. It's annoying as hell. Wins and losses don't matter to this company. It's stupid. But I get the feeling Order 4 is going to lose, and then immediately they're going to make Mustafa Ali the number 1 contender. Just a very TNA thing to do. 20-person Call Your Shot gauntlet. Lei Ying Lee entering number 1. Mance Warner entering at number 20. You had also announced was Brookside, Hometown Man, the Nemesis, I believe Matt Cardona. So I think we had 13 people announced for the match. Some people are going to get excited about the possibility of there being surprises. I want you to go back and watch all of the Call Your Shot gauntlet matches that this company's had since 2018, and there has not been a single surprise at got anybody ever really excited that ever led to anything other than the one time Bully Ray came in and won and he got his title shot. But that was not a game changing deal. That was not a big like they try to make this their Royal Rumble, but it's typically geeks in the match, and their surprises are also geeks. Like we've had fucking the Kiss Demon, we had who else? Who else have we had? Like I think not Ellsworth fought Eli Drake one year. He wasn't a Call Your Shot Gauntlet. I think we've had Hornswoggle like a couple of times. A Sunny Kiss was a surprise. Kylie Ray was a surprise. Like nobody of any major significance has ever been a surprise in this match. So if you're thinking it's going to be a surprise, then I don't know what to tell you, man. It's not going to, if it is, it's not going to be a good surprise. So I would try to wrap your heads around that. Like it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay. Steve Mackin versus Frankie Kazarian. I think they flip it back to Steve. He was stationed in the area. I think he's going to have some Marines nearby. And I think there's, they put a lot of tickets on WrestleTix. I think it was a big military presence. Steve has done a good job of getting out there in that area and bringing people to the show. I think he wins it back. I also think that Frankie Kazarian is probably going to challenge for the title too. Look, they got Turning Point and Final Resolution coming up in Genesis. So they need some heels to challenge for the title. So I could see Frankie dropping it back to Steve here. TNA Knockouts World Title, Indy Hartwell versus Connie Jordan. I don't care who wins. I think this match is going to be terrible, but probably Indy. TNA X Division title, Leon Slater versus Javon Evans, by far match of the night. It might be one of the best matches in TNA history. Leon Slater got the victory over Javon on Tuesday. You guys know what that means. So Javon's very likely going to win the match. And I'm okay with it. I know a lot of people brought up like, hey, do you think that Leon Slater's going to like break the record for longest title reign? Clearly not. And if Javon wins, then I think we get more Javon in TNA, and I think that's a good thing because I'm pretty sure Trick's done with this TNA run, so that'd be the trade-off. Like we lose Trick, we bring in Javon, and then Javon gets to take back the X Division title back to NXT, but that could be a title that we see on the main roster, and like maybe I don't think he defends on the main roster, but he could be the champion on the main roster. So NXT and TNA tag team titles tables match. Team 3D versus the Hardys. If anybody is willing to put money on Team 3D, I will bet my life savings that the Hardys win. So I'm that confident. Probably not going to be a great match, but, trip down memory lane. TNA World Title, Mike Santana versus Trick Williams. I'm going to go ahead and say Mike Santana on this one. I picked Mike Santana to win before Slammiversary, and then literally hours before the show, I changed my prediction, and I was right. But I think that TNA's had a lot of dates on Trick for a long time. I don't think they extended out any longer. He's been effective in his role, and it is time to crown Mike Santana. The way that they built him up on Tuesday, the way they built him up this week, just fantastic. He is the guy in this company. I think he's going to be the man. I know he's got an expiring contract coming up soon. I get the feeling that he's going to I get the feeling he's going to stay around a while because he's going to want to get some time as the TNA champion for like another year or two. So, all right, let's hit the chat and then we're going to call it a night. All right, Lucky Charm. I do not like TNA putting the titles on people's contracts that are expiring. They do this a lot because it is what they want. Because is it what they want to? Yeah, like. Oh, you want to give them a reason. Oh, you want to give them a reason to stay. Maybe, but the Iconics are not belt marks. Like the Iconics want money, right? Like if you want them to stay, pay them. Like that's how. IO says they're still negotiating. I think the Iconics are staying. I could be wrong. I just don't see them going anywhere else. They had their run in WWE. They were over in WWE, and WWE still got rid of them. So I guess they think that they're like, yeah, they're over, but like, what can we actually get out of them? And they decided not enough, and they sent them packing. And then they came to TNA for like 3 months and then retired, and then they come back a few years later, and and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Io says, which faction? I'm guessing Order 4 versus System needs to win more. I don't think it really matters. The hardcore bore. I don't see this being a meaningful match, and it's just a match that is happening. I don't think this is a significant match whatsoever. Let's see, not even James Storm. Yeah, James Storm would be fun, but Carlos Silva at number 19. Yeah, he could come in the match. All right, Melina was in one. Yeah, Melina was like just randomly showed up, and she was one of the surprises. It's like fucking Melina. It's like, what are we doing? Okay. Let's see. Alter says, I'll bet $1 for your life. Like saying, well, that's not a very good bet for me. Don't like the tag titles with the tag match because it makes it so predictable. Yeah, I feel you. All right, guys. Bound for Glory is on Sunday night. I'll be watching intently, but it's going to go late. I think it's going to be another 4-hour pay-per-view, so probably won't be ending until 11. So I'm not going to be able to go live afterwards, but I will be live on Monday at some point in time, and I will get that information out to everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, please become a subscriber. Head to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show. And until next time, mahalo.